Well, we've got some wonderful guests and co-hosts on the show today, and I'm pretty excited about that. Of course, you've got Jeff on the far end on my right, and then you have Brian Drummond on my far right, the two co-host anchors, and then you have the beautiful um, two ladies who are here today. That is definitely going to help us. Tamara is here, and she's on my left, and then you also have now you got to be able to be excited about having her back on the show.
Thank you,
Um,
Dr. Lane.
Ms. Andrews is excited to be back on the
Yes,
show. Amber
yes.
is excited to be back on the show. Now, listen, as our usual, there are things that I want to do, and I want to get started on it. I want to start. It's going to be hot tonight, and I want to get started. So there are things that I want to talk about that is very important as it relates to relationship and it relates to love. So I want you to listen to this because this is going to help a whole lot of people out tonight. So I want you to be able to listen to this. Now, imagine this, that you've been fighting with your partner, and the nasty fight continues. Then one day, suddenly, you get a pleasant surprise or sweet talk, and everything seems to have become normal again. And then you think that it's the last time. And so, what is that? It's called an intermittent reinforcement relationship. But as the time passes, the same events go on again, the repeated cycle. It seems that you have what is called an intermittent reinforcement relationship. Now, it may look healthy and stable relationship at first, but that's not true. Your partner is using what we call the occasional rewards as a powerful tool of manipulation. And this emotional manipulation in intimate reinforcement relationships can be very harmful to anyone. But aren't fights and arguments normal in relationships anyway? Well, here it is. When you talk about reinforcement, when you talk about intimate reinforcement relationships, that's not normal. So if you had a partner and your partner fought a lot and then get some sweet talk from them, it's time to rethink about that relationship. So let's take a leap of faith and let's deal with that tonight. So the intermittent relationship or reinforcement relationship are a type of psychological abuse. In these relationships, the receiver or the victim receives regular, cruel, calculus, abusive treatment with an occasional and sudden display of extreme affection and rewards in given instances. In intermittent reinforcement relationships, the abuser unpredictably rewards some occasional and sudden affection, and this often causes the victim to become a needy lover. Now, I want you to hold on to that. A needy lover. That's when we talked about operant conditioning. They're actually conditioning you to become needy. They want you to depend on them, right? The despair and anxiety caused by the emotional or physical abuse cause the victim to become desperate for a sign of love and affection. Then subtly display affection is called intermittent reward. This causes them to become filled with joy, and they start to believe that what they're getting is enough. It's the ideal relationship. And on top of that, the continuous reinforcement also causes the victim to grow highly dependent upon their abuser and continue the relationship despite being detrimental to them. Now, research says when you're a younger person, 12 to 20% of young adults face somewhat emotionally abusive romantic relationships, and a significant part of these people are involved in intermittent reinforcement relationships. There's a different types of this that goes on inside of your relationship. For instance, consider a gambler who plays games. The gambler can encounter regular losses repeatedly, but they become excited once in a while they win. The winnings can be big or winnings can be small. The sudden win causes them to become excited, and the gambler thinks that they're having a great day, which is involved. Now consider a relationship between two adults. We're going to say A and B. B often emotionally abuses, in cases, uses physical abuse on A. But B gradually makes up with rewards, expensive gifts, luxury vacations. Does that sound familiar? That someone says something to you, does something to you in a relationship, and then rewards you with kisses, hugs, sex, money, gifts, vacations. Does that sound very familiar to you? Now here, A thinks that B is a simple, hot-headed person who loves A truly, and in some cases, individuals like A may also think that the abuse as a sign of extreme love. Now here's another one between two people. C and D are in a relationship. C is very short-tempered and often fights with D to demand something. D eventually gives in and hands away what C wants. With time, C will start to throw tantrums and on minor things to ensure that they get what they want. It's one common negative reinforcement examples of adult relationships. Now, doesn't that sound familiar? Where somebody actually is throwing a temper tantrum because they want to get what they want, and you have become conditioned to giving them what they want because you don't want them to be hurt. You don't want them to feel bad. You want to make them happy. You just want to bless their life, so you just give it to them. You want to make sure that nothing goes wrong. Well, what also happens is you end up in what we call a relationship with lack of intimacy, lack of sex. Now, some people can have a relationship with lack of sex for various reasons. But what happens is it causes you to feel inadequate, rejected, filled with anxiety, depression can set in, and always on the hunt for affection, right? When someone decides to give you small amounts of affection, small amounts of intimacy, and take sex from you. When they take sex from you, the object of that is to make you become a good boy or a good girl so that you can get some. That's the object of them taking sex from you. In other words, you're supposed to be trained. We call it operant conditioning. Another word is that is, Mom gonna train you how to act. Mom gonna train you how to act, and the next time you get some, you gonna remember that you're gonna do what I told you to do, or you're not gonna get none no more. Him being a little boy, wanting to please mommy and to be happy, and also feel like a man, because that's what she's doing. You're not a man, but when I give you some, you a man. So that he feels like a man, he does it, because that's what feels what his mindset or thought is of manhood. Now, let's take it to the ones who are sitting with me tonight. I'm going to start on my left. Jeff, you heard me say a lot of things about intermittent reinforcement relationships, certain sudden burst of sex or affection or kisses, and then you get none. Or it could be attention, and then you get none. You heard me talk about when they go into a temper tantrum and you want to please them, and so you buy expensive gifts. And also lack of intimacy, lack of sex is supposed to train you to be a good boy. What do you think about that?
Sound like a lot of my relationships in my 20s.
I'm sorry. My Gen T almost went everywhere. In your 20s, have you ever experienced it in your 30s and 40s?
Not really. I've kind of learned the lesson and stopped that cycle.
Okay. All right. Do you find yourself still looking as a seasoned man in your 50s? Do you find yourself still looking for love that matches, that doesn't go through what I call that vicious cycle?
Yes, I demand that.
You demand it. But have you come across females who are still trying
to play that cycle?
to play that cycle, to teach you lessons?
I have, but I don't. Yeah.
What happens? What do you do when you see that now?
I'm gone. I cut that short.
Is that something that you spend time trying to nurture, or is that something you immediately reject?
I might try to nurture for a little bit, but as I'm grown seasoned, it's just not going to work for me.
Okay, I call myself a big grown man, so I'm not going to raise you. I'm not going to try to rear you. I'm not going to try to do any of those things. There's certain things that you should be in place with before you come to me. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that at all. But let's go to some younger guy.
I thought that was me.
Let's go to the younger guy up here,
Oh, okay.
and let's ask Brian, how does he feel about these things?
I can agree with Jeff on several things.
Okay.
I've dealt with it in my past, dealt with it recently. More so trying to fix me and fix somebody else at the same time, and it doesn't work.
Well, when you meet a woman, let's say you're somewhere and a woman looks at you, you got eye contact.
Right.
She has the body you like. It seems like that's what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You meet her and you start talking to her and you find out she's not what I really want, but I probably could enjoy. What do you do? Do you just partake?
I have partook in the past. That's the God honest truth. I have partook in the past. But the older I have gotten and the more seasoned I've gotten, you start to see things for what they are.
Okay, so I found that a lot of times we just don't know how to handle one conflict. The other thing is we don't really know how to express ourselves. So it could be, for an example, I do love you, but I do not appreciate
Right.
the manner in which you are conducting this, or the words that you're using, or I'm sorry, that's my position in life, and I'm never going to change. Right? I don't like that. I don't want that. I'm never going to change. When you take that position, have you seen a struggle in your relationship?
So that position, no.
Okay.
It's always when I'm more direct and what I'm trying to get across. So the way you explained it, I didn't have that vernacular to come at a person that way.
Okay.
So it would always be me being the aggressor, coming to them and demanding something versus me taking the subtle route.
Now, a lot of people, you'll see a child do something, and the mother or father doesn't like it, and they'll yell at the child, right? And then the child will throw it on the floor. And then the mother or father is just going to go to the next level of raising voices, snatching them, whatever it takes. In relationship, I found that people spend a lot of time raising voices. They yell at each other as if that person is your father or that person is your mother. And the frustrating part of that is you feel, in a sense, why am I going through this? So you're left in this cycle of, what am I doing? You're always with a foot on the banana peel. In other words, you're always leaving.
Yeah.
I found that a lot of people, and maybe you guys watching us, I find a lot of people spend more time thinking about leaving than they do enjoying the relationship. You're always ready to go. You're always leaving. And you always say, if one more thing happened, I'm leaving. Knowing that you're lying.
Correct.
Because two more things happen and you don't leave. You're still staying there, which means you have kind of a Stockholm syndrome to me. You like you're the person imprisoning you. You actually like fighting. It becomes a part of your lifestyle. You fight, you have sex, you make up. You fight, you go to dinner, you make up. You fight, you buy an expensive gift, you make up. You fight, and then you spend $8,000, $6,000, $5,000 on tickets, on planes, on vacations. And then you think when you come back it's going to be different, and they go through the same cycle. All right, let's take it over to the women. So, Tamara, from a woman's perspective, talk to us a little bit about what happens when we talk about things like tonight.
Well,
Have you seen it?
I've experienced it.
You've experienced it, okay.
Experienced it. It is draining. It is, having to deal or go through that type of abuse, and then all of a sudden they act like, nothing ever happened. So it's like, okay, well, like, we need to talk about what did happen, and so it won't happen again. But, don't think that because, you want to love on me or you want to have sex, that's going to change what happened or what you did to me. So, but me being the forgiving person that I am and trying to understand, I just, well, maybe next time, well, maybe they won't do it again, or, it's.
So you can't have commitment if commitment doesn't exist. Because it sounds like to me what you're trying to practice is commitment.
I was.
All right, but commitment never existed. There was no understanding of commitment. In other words, there was no ground rules of how that relationship was supposed to work.
There was
All right, then there's nothing to follow, right? You're committed to what?
I mean, I was married at the time, so I was committed to the marriage. I was, you know, I figured, you know, things happen, people go through
All right.
things.
So I get what you're saying. So let's do it this way. Marriage is not a document. Marriage is the unity of thought. Marriage is the unity of thought. The way a person is married is because they become one in their mind. You decided to keep the person. Just like there is marriages and then there's common law marriages, where the person is in your house and stay for a particular long you have time you had this relationship, you call common law marriage, right? Again, you didn't sign a document that says I'm married. There is no preacher that or judge or anybody that marries you. However, you are looked upon as being married because they kept you. A lot of relationships operate like a marriage, doesn't it? Yeah, you give them all the benefits of being married without the thought life. The unity is not there. So what you're doing is that's a falsity, and anything that's false, truth will rise up. And when truth rises up, that's when you're gonna always feel like I gotta go. Now, how do we change this scenario? One is, just like anything in life, there's gotta be a training. There's gotta be a teaching. Without teaching, nobody got up and taught you. Nobody just got up and became a man. Somebody should have mentored you into manhood. You didn't just get up and all of a sudden you're a woman. You should be mentored into womanhood. You don't just go to a job and start working. They do train you, right? Any position that you're going to take in life has to have some sense of training. And in marriage, no one knows just how to get up and be married. Again, you've got to go through some training. Let's go to Amber. Amber, talk to us about what you heard tonight.
Well, I want to go back to the part where you talked about how we are in our relationships as far as arguing and talking to each other. I would take it back to, unfortunately, a lot of times we were taught that as little children, we saw how our parents responded and how they talk to each other. And so a lot of us just thought that that's how you respond to your significant other. Like you said, we were never taught how to properly communicate, what it is when you are ready to be married. Are you ready to be married, first of all, and what that all details. There should be a conversation prior to you all getting married to basically say, hey, let's make sure this is how we're going to work our marriage for the rest of our lives. Unfortunately, people just get married. They just get married.
All right, so let's not go to the level of marriage. Let's go to dating, courting.
Or they just become in a relationship.
All right, so let's distinguish dating, courting, marriage.
Mm-hmm.
3 categories, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you brothers talk about that? Dating, courting, marriage. How do you see dating?
Dating, there's no commitment, I don't think.
What do you see dating as, Brian?
I see dating as seeing if you could commit to that person. So you're pretty much trying to fill them out.
Okay, what about courting?
The courting stage to me is the commitment stage.
I wouldn't necessarily say commitment. I would say I've chosen to focus my time on you. I'm not gonna
Okay.
focus my time on anyone else. I'm gonna focus my time on you. I'm gonna make this about
So
you.
what's the language that you guys use when you're ready to focus your time on that female, on that woman?
I've been guilty of not expressing that I am courting you, but I am courting you, but I haven't said that.
Okay.
So I need to.
How does she know that then?
I've been told she didn't know that. So I need to express that. I need
Okay.
to say that, you are the person that I'm dating. You're the only person that
So
I wanna
what do
see.
you say to her when you want her to focus solely on you?
I probably tell her what I'm doing.
Do you say, we are an item, we are
I don't know. Do people say that anymore?
Please don't say you say boyfriend and girlfriend. I would just die up here. If anybody that is an adult say, this is my girlfriend, what? Oh, you in the playpen. You're not ready. All right, Brian, go ahead. What's the language?
I've been that guy before though. I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been that guy. I would honestly have to tell her like, pretty much I'm not dealing with anybody else, and you're the only person that I'm courting.
Unfortunately, though, I take it for granted that she knows that. I don't verbalize it, and I should verbalize it. Guilty.
So when you focus on just her, what does that look like?
She's the person I want to go out with. If I'm going out to a show, a movie, or dinner.
But
she's
what's
who I
the
want.
expectation though?
The expectation for me now is to get to know her, to see if she can fit into my life, or to see if she can fit long term, short term. If we get along, if we disagree, and we know how to argue in a peaceful manner, or if we have a disagreement in a peaceful manner.
You said the word peaceful.
Yes. And sometimes also, as we were talking about before, is that sometimes if you are having a lot of argument, you should let that person know that, okay, we might not be getting along, but I don't want to leave you just because we disagree. And that kind of changes the outcome sometimes, when they know that, okay, we're having a disagreement, but I'm not going anywhere.
I agree.
Right.
I still want
We
you.
disagree, but we're not going anywhere.
If she knows that, however you might feel, that I'm not gonna pack up my bag, I'm not gonna be gone, I'm not gonna leave.
Are you talking about a person who's used to being abandoned?
Not a person used to be, just anyone. I think if someone
If
knows
a
that you're
person
not
is-
gonna leave,
If a person is used to being abandoned, they're used to daddy not being there. Nobody played peekaboo, like they left and came
Okay.
back.
I would say abandoned, but you have a lot of women who are used to being, guys ghost them.
That's abandonment.
Okay, all right, well.
You're talking now about abandonment, and that's a whole,
Yeah.
because you're going to spend a lot of time trying to just play peekaboo with her. There are things that you need to recognize. That's probably what I'm going to tell you. You used the word peaceful. We're going to argue in a very peaceful way.
You're like, how do you do that?
Well, because if there's none in you, you can't give me what you don't have.
Right.
All right, so that means there's the priority of relationships. And priority relationships go like this: God first, then me. Love your neighbors, you love yourself, right? So it's God first and then me. So if I don't know how to love me, and loving me is acceptance of the totality of me, what is good, what is bad, all of me, right? If I'm not there, I can't give that to you. Peace that surpasses all understanding is supposed to come from, Jesus says, these are the words that I give you that you may have peace. All right? So if peace is not in you, you will not produce that peacefully. So then there's another scripture text that goes in, and it says, fight for the unity, or the bond of unity. So there is the bond of unity that needs to be understood. You both need to understand it. Somebody has to fight for somebody. I guess that's what you're saying. Well, I'm not going to leave you. If neither one of you understood the bond of peace and the need to fight for the bond of unity, right, and the bond of peace, you're not going to do it.
Because about arguing, but sometimes if me as the man, as the leader, if I don't raise my voice and I set the tone not to be yelling at her and all that kind of stuff, if I come peacefully, I would hope she would see that and come back with that same kind of energy.
So a woman is built to mirror a man. She is a woman, so she's built to mirror a man. However, she sometimes does not allow you to be what you're built to be. So you are a progenitor. Everything comes from a man, right? Seed comes from a man. All of a sudden, there's a child. The last name comes from a man. Generations. Everything comes from a man. But but manhood also includes a teacher.
Mhm.
So you remember when we were in church and I always say, "Oh, and he shall rule over her." That word "rule" means "and he shall teach her." So a man is a teacher. So that's why is so instant for a man to step up because he takes the responsibility of teaching, because at the end of the day, he's responsible for what happens in that household. So much so that if you go to court and you were married, your wife cannot be made to testify against you because she's what? You. So a woman is built to mirror you. Now that is not all that women understand, and so therefore they'll try to keep a different identity, which means there's a variance in the relationship. Anytime there's a variance in friendship or relationship, there will be no peace. You will have trouble because you're at a variance until you guys come to understanding and identify approach of life, right? Approach of life, and you approach life the same way. We approach the argument or the misunderstanding in the same way. I don't lift my voice. I don't curse you out. Now me, if you curse me out, I'm leaving.
Call time out too.
I'm not, ain't no time out. I'm not coming back. If you curse at me, I'm not coming back. Cursing at me is the ultimate disrespect. There is no comeback on that. You cannot hit me and you cannot curse me out. We're done with that. Because you don't respect me. And you can't have a relationship with a person who simply does not respect you. So there are ground rules, I think, that we have to put in place as we say, oh, you're the only one I'm focusing on. What's the ground rules? Yeah. All right, let's hear from the women. Let's go to Amber first.
So I think that dating is, you date multiple people, you're not putting yourself in a box, you're exploring what the opportunities are out there.
And you're not called a hoe.
Oh, absolutely not. You shouldn't be, male or female. For as long as you're not having sex with these people, or if you're dating and get to knowing them, why would you be called a hoe if it is not?
Yeah, but you know that with you, if you had 3 men that you were seeing,
And I wasn't intimate with them?
whether you intimate or not,
Oh, men would say I was a hoe.
you would say he's a hoe too.
No, I mean, me personally, I feel like
Yes, you
I
would.
wouldn't. I wouldn't. I would, no,
Okay,
no, I
let's say
wouldn't.
you as an individual.
Right,
But women will call these 2 men a hoe.
no. If you are upfront and you're honest with those individuals that you're dating,
Amber,
And
are you
you're real?
serious?
I'm speaking that for me as a grown up, not as a child. Like in a grown up mindset, you're not a hoe. You're dating. In a child's mindset, I can understand how people would label people that way. Yeah, of course, I definitely.
We all been called a hoe.
Not now.
No, I've never. But
Dating is gathering information.
Right. So you have to gather information from
And
multiple people.
wait.
How can you gather information from one person?
I'm not telling you that you shouldn't. I'm telling you that you should,
Oh, okay.
because you're not courting.
Right.
Right.
I agree.
No,
We agree.
I'm not going against you. I'm trying to diffuse
Oh, okay.
in the air the fact that you are not a hoe.
No, you're not.
But see, that's the stigma that's out there,
Mhm.
that when people find out, oh, he talked to her, and he talked to her, and he talked to her, he's a hoe. So that's what's, from what I hear in conversation, because men and or women talk to multiple people when so-called dating, then they're a hoe. Now, however, there's been situations where, yeah, he's sleeping with her, and her.
All right, let me
Or
let,
she's
let,
sleeping
let me
with-
let Brian and Jeff stand up a minute. Y'all brothers stand up. Raise your hands, brothers, if you've been looked at as a hoe.
Okay.
There you go. Now go ahead. Address them.
No. It's okay.
Address the hoes.
No, I mean, my question would be, were you hoes? I mean, were you hoes at the time that you were addressed as hoes?
That's right.
Were you hoes?
At the time, I was.
Oh. Okay.
Wait,
well,
wait.
Even when I wasn't, I was still addressed as one.
But wait a minute.
But you
What,
had
what
that
is,
label
what,
already.
where's
Right.
identify the hoe though?
Okay.
Right.
Identify the hoe, because you said you were dating, so is dating a hoe?
No,
No, in my older years.
Was,
Younger.
so you dated multiple women at one time?
Yeah.
You were gathering information?
And other
You
things.
gathered other.
and that's that part. That's not what I'm saying. You should not be intimate
Right.
with everybody you're dating.
Exactly.
That's the
Right.
difference between what makes it a difference. According to me, I feel like is more so of a commitment.
But we gotta be honest about something else too now. Because when it comes to, let's just say, I'm gonna take the word intimate out, I'm gonna use the word sex. When it comes down to sex, the way people often express how they feel about a person. All right, this looks nice. What do? Use my five senses. I'm gonna look at it, touch it, smell it,
Taste it.
taste it, I'm doing all those things. What people do, hear it, what people do when something is nice is they use their five senses. Men and women do the same thing. A lot of people want to ride it, they want to test it. It's like they went to the car lot. It's a nice car. Can I drive it?
It's got the same equipment.
It all has the same equipment. That's true. However,
Some you might get a smoother ride.
now this goes on. I'm not finished yet. And some give a rough ride. Some give a smooth ride. It's a ride.
Right, regardless.
Here's the thing I want to say to you though. It is value systems.
Yes.
Men and women both have to have value systems, and there's certain. I don't want to walk in a room and all y'all had this,
Know your worth.
and I don't want to walk in a room and you and your girlfriends are discussing what they had and what they saw.
Yes,
Then that's different.
that's right.
Then that's different. Then that's a hoe.
Mm.
Where everybody can discuss you.
And
You have
in a
officially
intimate
entered the
way.
domain of a hoe.
Yeah.
Because now everybody can describe it and tell how it feels.
All the five senses.
Okay.
Good or bad?
Now, let's go to Tamara. What do you think about what I just said? Because we've all been there where we took rides.
Put some bird on the ride.
We just said you're not a hoe.
Not a hoe.
Oh, okay, I'm not sure what you want me to expound on, courting, dating, or marriage, or
Courting, dating,
Or
courting,
dating
dating,
multiple
with,
people.
courting, dating. When you date multiple people, how do you feel? You feel guilty?
No, I don't feel guilty because I'm dating them. I'm just trying to see if dating them, I'm just spending time with them to see if.
So Mike drops you off, and Junior is coming down the street. Are you feeling guilty?
No, because if I'm not intimate with Mike, me and Mike, we just going out. We just had something to drink, something to eat, or whatever.
So you don't feel bad that Junior just coming down the street,
I'm not
and you
gonna
getting
feel
out of
bad,
the car
'cause
with Mike?
I'm not committed to Junior. I'm not intimate with Junior or none of that. So no, I'm not gonna feel guilty. Now he
Junior
might
does.
feel a
So
certain
you
type
don't
of way.
dismiss Junior because you're not finished with Mike.
Okay, first of all, Junior ain't coming until I'm done with Mike.
Well, that's not always so because some people, remember, are on a different eco-plane than you on.
Well, see, first
They
of all,
think more of themselves than you think. And they are going to show up because they feel like they like that.
I'm curious. So first of all, Junior and I will have understanding. So ain't no pulling up on me or whatever case. Because Junior's gonna know, yes, I'm dating someone else. Yes, I'm seeing someone else. So if he see me get out the car,
Now this
gonna be
this
quiet.
this ain't this
He gonna wait.
listen. I gotta ask all genders this. So y'all are telling me, you people are telling me that y'all have never been somewhere with somebody and somebody ain't pull up on y'all.
I have
So,
been in
so
that
let me
I ain't
let me
in
say
that
this.
situation either.
If I know you date me, and I'm not pulling up anywhere without
permission.
Exactly.
permission or announcing myself.
Grown men status
But
right there.
if I see it and I'm in my mind, we dating, and I see you out with another person,
Mm.
That's it.
Wait, you just said that they could
But
do
you're
it.
dating, you're
That,
not courting.
this what I'm saying.
Wait.
I'm not competing with somebody else.
But she can compete.
Mm.
I said I was, we wasn't supposed to ask
Because you can
questions
date,
on
so you're
the
saying you
show
can date,
tonight,
you can date
and
multiple people.
we not supposed to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead and do that.
No, no,
Go ahead.
no, no.
Ask the question. No, say
no.
that. The women said, and
Uh-huh.
you brothers gotta answer these women.
Right now, I'm
Tamara and Amber said,
Right.
why is it that men are free to have a
Go
checklist and date, but they are not?
So let me expound on what I said.
You need.
Okay. The first date, okay, cool. We not really knowing each other. But if we
You
going
make me
on
drop
dates
my
after
hand.
dates after dates, and you still, I'm not the one, then obviously I haven't proven
So,
myself.
but so you're courting her now.
Yeah, that's a difference, and you let her know that she's the only one at that point, right?
There's a
Okay,
difference. There's a
okay.
difference there.
I'm asking.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm asking.
No, you're right. Yes.
Oh,
You're
okay,
right,
so
you're
that's
right.
different,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
But if you were just dating a girl and have not made that commitment,
I think that's what a disconnect. I'm not talking about the first date.
okay.
Yeah.
All
Okay,
right,
so
all right.
walk them through.
Yeah.
Walk them
I
through
need
on
one.
what you think. Is there a timeline? Is there a 30-day timeline? Is there a 60-day
90
timeline?
days.
The 3
I
days
didn't-
we together?
No,
Like-
I don't think there's a timeline. If we're dating and if I have the vibe that you're feeling me, I'm feeling you, and it's communicated to the both of us, like, all right, this is what we're doing. Okay, then yes, it's going into court. All right, but just off one date and like, oh yeah, I like her. That's not enough for me.
Have you ever seen a person,
Mhm.
and on that sightseeing, you knew that could be the one?
Yeah, but it was all physical though. It wasn't all get to know it.
Intellectual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't just watch them move around
No,
or
no,
nothing.
no,
You just saw the shape, the silhouettes.
I looked at it. I
The
said,
silhouette did it.
that did it.
This part happens with the same thing with women. Sometimes you see a nice looking woman and then she talks.
Vice versa.
Happens all the time, please, because for the
Wait,
show.
did you see how she said it, though? Did you see how Tamara said it? She said it peacefully.
Yes.
She said vice versa.
More than you know, Jeff, more than you know. And then you put them in categories, right? After that? Is that true?
Yes.
All right, so I grew up in church, and we weren't allowed to do a bunch of dating, so it just was uncomfortable. To a degree, it still is uncomfortable because people still have an expectation of how you should perform because of your background, because of where you came from. And their expectations that you still should be this, right? You can go out and women automatically expect you're gonna take care of everything. Right?
Do y'all think?
Wait, depending on,
On what?
so wait, are you saying if I seen who, what, when, where? Like, you gotta break this down because it depends, like if you look raggedy, I'm not gonna expect you to take care of yourself, so let alone anything else. So when, what, where, and how, I'm trying to understand.
Sometimes a man will be out
Mm-hmm,
and he'll see a beautiful woman sitting at the table across from him.
mm-hmm.
Or he passed the table and he says to the waiter, bring me a check.
Okay.
Real nice and polite, bring me that check.
So you're setting standards in the beginning and expectations.
He did that because he wants to get her what?
Attention.
Of course. And that's gonna be probably an expectation she'll probably continue to have.
The expectation.
You set that standard. You have to be so mindful of setting standards and putting things in the atmosphere that you don't want in a relationship.
I ain't saying she's a gold digger.
But she ain't messing with no broke.
Right. Right.
Mm.
Now, y'all gotta be a little more honest with yourselves about where you are. Because now that you're on YouTube, everybody wants to know. What's up with you?
About what?
Life, where you are. Go ahead, tell them.
Oh, my goodness.
The women wanna know.
I'm not talking to the women.
Hey,
I'm
not the-
talking to the audience.
Oh, there you go.
Not just specifically.
I like
Okay.
that, Jeff.
Yeah,
That was a good answer.
I know I need to do a better job at recognizing the values, making sure that someone has the same values as me as we move forward in dating, courting, and so on beyond.
So the first lesson I think it has to be understood is, remember this, whatever you give attention to, that's what you become. From there, you learn how to pick women. Let me change that. Approach women who now have the qualities after you have watched them.
Important.
You learn that lesson first. Then from there, you learn to watch a woman. Like if she is in a restaurant or she's in anywhere, watch how she handles the waitress or the waiter.
Yeah, definitely.
Watch how she is, even if she's by herself, or if listen to what the conversation is like in the
I do
environment.
that all the time, yeah.
All right, that conduct should tell you where the person is. Look at the approach that they gave you. Was the approach aggressive? Right? Did they approach you with? Was it more physical? Because if it was, you already know you got a problem.
And what's the problem?
The problem is,
What's the problem with that?
That's-
I mean,
no,
she
the
loved all
problem is
this.
that's all you gonna have
Right.
is what is physical.
Yeah.
There's nothing else, because that's the only thing they wanted.
That's not always true for me.
Why?
I just don't think so. I think it might have started out physical, but it might have went somewhere different.
Okay, it may have went somewhere different because you wanted it to go somewhere different, but it didn't remain. And the reason why it didn't remain, because there was nothing there.
But you gotta find out though.
Yeah.
Well,
I agree.
You
again,
gotta explore that
Again.
road.
you're watching people. So when you take them out, that's the reason why you're doing it, right? When you finally give yourself to someone, remember, you're the most valuable commodity on the earth. When you finally give yourself to somebody, you are creating something that had never existed in the universe before. Now, what are we supposed to produce together? So that it goes back to the value system that one has, but that's a lesson that must be learned. So before you go and do that, you gotta know what to look for first.
So what should we look for? Can I ask you that question?
Well, what you're looking for, again, is a woman who understands who she is, her identity. She understands her identity more than she understands the power of her breasts or the power of her body. She understands her identity, her value system in terms of when I come together with a man, what is it that I am producing? She can begin to articulate those kinds of things. The purpose. She understands her purpose. Not only her identity, she understands her purpose. And she understands that this has to be on purpose. And she treats it that way. So then she will take care and concern in what it is that she's doing. Right? It's not going to be an impressing game. I'm going to dress like this to impress you. And then there's nothing behind it. Right? It's just empty. So women have to do the very same thing.
Absolutely.
What is there?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Now, Dr. John Paul James, hopefully we say something tonight that has touched you, has enlightened you, and if it hasn't, call Jeff, call Brian, call Tamara, and call Amber. They got answers for you. This is Dr. John Paul James. You are living life, Dr. John Paul James. See you next week.